Hi, I'm Bill Bronchick, and in this video we'll explore the real estate investing strategy of buy, fix, and flip, or otherwise known as speccing or rehabbing or flipping. This is the simple concept of buying low, adding value by fixing it up, and then selling it for a nice, healthy, or at least a reasonable profit. Now, before we even get into the intricacies of buying a house and putting it under contract and estimating repairs, the first thing you have to be able to do is know your exit strategy. And that is, if you're going to sell it on the market to an end user buyer who's going to live in the property, which means you're going to list it with a real estate broker out on the MLS, the multiple listing, then you must be able to determine its after repaired value, which is also known in the industry as ARV, after repaired value. Now, is that appraisal value? No. An appraisal is just an opinion of value. What ARV means is if the house were in its after repaired condition, that is comparable in likeness, in style, in finish to all the other properties in the neighborhood that are for sale competing with you, what would that number be? And of course we have to figure out what it's going to take in terms of fix-up money to get there. But we have to start with the assumption that if we went into a similar house for sale and we were going to sell it for a similar price, what would that look like? So the first thing you want to do is go to some open houses in the neighborhood and see what kind of finishes your competitors are using. So if they're using granite countertops, then you have to use granite countertops, otherwise price it cheaper. Stainless steel appliances and so forth. You don't want to be too nice, and you don't want to be not nice at all to the point where it's just not comparable to the competition who's asking a similar price. Now, figuring out ARV is a tricky thing because it is not exactly the way an appraiser does it. The way an appraiser does it is they're going to look at what we call comparable sales, which is known in short as comps. Those are properties that have recently sold in the area, and the area should be the same subdivision, but theoretically appraisers can go up to a mile, but depending on where you are, a mile is a long way. It could be a totally different neighborhood. So start with, what's next door, what's on the block, what's in the subdivision, and then maybe you have to go outside the subdivision to a similar subdivision to find comps. What you're looking for is properties that have sold in the last 6 months. Anything older than that, technically, an appraiser is not going to look at, although we could look at it for our purposes. Just be aware of the seasonal differences in pricing. What does that mean? Well, for example, if you're buying a house in March and you plan on fixing it up and selling it in, let's say, June, it's going to sell for a higher price generally than it will in March. Prices tend to go up in the summer, down in the winter, generally speaking. So if you're looking at properties that have sold in December the year before, they're going to be substantially lower than what might be in June coming up in front of you. And that's not even assuming any market increase in value. That's just the seasonal fluctuation. So take that into account when you're looking at your comps. We have to look at things that are similar. Now, what is similar? Well, we're going to look at things like bedrooms and bathrooms. You're going to compare a 3-bedroom to a 3-bedroom, a 4-bedroom to a 4-bedroom, a 2-bedroom to a 2-bedroom. A 3-bedroom 1-bath and a 3-bedroom 2-bath are comparable because we can just adjust for the bathroom. But generally speaking, a 2-bedroom and a 3-bedroom are not really comparable because the biggest jump in value is between 2 and 3 bedrooms. You can generally compare a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom or a 4-bedroom to a 5-bedroom. And in terms of square footage, you want ones that are similar in size, plus or minus 25% in square footage or so. Don't make the mistake, as a lot of people do, is multiplying price per square foot of the neighborhood, which is the average price per square foot, times the number of square feet. That's not accurate because a 1,000 square foot house next to a 1,200 square foot house that have the same configuration, 3 bedrooms and 1 bath, are pretty much going to comp out almost the same value. Now, the one that's 1,200 square foot might have a laundry room, it might have a bigger kitchen, so it might be worth a little bit more, but not 20% more. Does that make sense? So you want to look for things that are similar in size, plus or minus 25% or so, and style. So you want to try to compare ranch to ranch, colonial to colonial, and so forth. And you want to do is come up with the 3 closest comparables meeting this criteria, and that's exactly what an appraiser will do. Now, that's not enough, because that's only looking in the rear view mirror. We want to look in the front windshield, out in front of us. So in that case, we want to look at what is for sale. That's your competition. So it may come at $200,000, but if there's a house on the market right now that is very similar to what your product is going to look like, and they're desperate and they're pricing it at $175,000, will that affect what you can sell your house for? Absolutely. So we want to look both at what's behind us as well as what is in front of us. And you're going to need some data to do this, either a good real estate broker or agent, or some good websites like Trulia, Trulia, and Zillow, Zillow. Warning, these websites, and many like it, have an estimated value that they come up with for a property. Do not, I repeat, do not rely on that. It may not be accurate. It's based on a formula which is mathematical. So for example, if there are high wires overhead or it is on a busy street, Zillow or Trulia may not be able to calculate that factor. So be careful about relying on the automated valuation models. Instead, look at the raw data of the houses that are for sale and the houses that are sold that are similar, that are comparable, and so forth. So once we come up with our ARV, then we've got to figure out what we want to pay for the property. Now, generally, if you ever watch a TV show, like Flip This House and those types of shows, they're going to do it like this. They bought it for $200,000. They put repairs of $50,000, and they sold it for $300,000. Ergo, profit was $50,000. I laugh every time I see that. First of all, on the television set in the show, there's a real estate broker there. Now, I don't know about on TV, but in real life, real estate brokers get paid. So it's 50 minus that. 50 minus closing costs. 50 minus the interest on money that you may be borrowing, utilities, taxes, insurance, and so forth. Lots of things. So this is not your net profit. This is your gross profit. Gross. Okay? And you want to subtract from that all of those transactional costs, the cost of carrying it, broker's fees, title insurance, closing fees, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's what's going to give you your bottom line. And generally, here's a decent formula that you can use as a rule of thumb. This is not 100% accurate, but it's a good rule of thumb for calculating generally what you want to pay for a property. And it goes something like this. We start with an ARV, and we've done this accurately, so it's a good number. We multiply that times 0.7, or 0.70%, okay? And that's going to give you a number, okay? And then from that, you're going to subtract the repair costs, what it's going to cost to get it in ARV condition, and that is the maximum, not the minimum, the maximum price that you want to offer. Okay? Now, why did I use 0.7? Because generally speaking, and I'm speaking in general terms, I'm going to get into the actual math in just a little bit, but generally speaking, the difference here, the 30%, that's your gross profit. That's the joke we talked about a little while ago. That's your gross profit. It's about 30% of the selling price. Of that 30%, some of that is going to be costs, what we call soft costs. That is Hard costs is repairs. Soft cost is things like broker's fees and carrying costs and taxes and utilities and so forth, permits. And then the other portion of that is going to be profit. And generally speaking, a little more than half is going to be soft costs and a little less than half will be profit. So let's do a little math here. On that $300,000 house, you should about gross $90,000. Gross, that's 30%. And about, a little more than half, so 45, maybe let's say 50 is your soft cost and 40,000 is your profit. And that's if everything goes perfectly. That's assuming no one's going to bargain on you on the price. They're not going to find anything wrong with your house on inspection. Nothing's going to go wrong, and so on and so forth. But that's a good estimate. So if we take the ARV and then multiply times 0.7 and then subtract the repair budget, we come up with our maximum offer price, which is going to yield us somewhere between a 10 to 15% net profit. What does that mean? Well, if we sell it for $300,000, at 10% our profit is 30. At 15% it's 45, and so forth. And that's about right. Now, if you want to get into the specifics of it, then we have to break it down mathematically. And in the premium membership section of this website, if you choose to upgrade, you'll find a great spreadsheet that breaks this all down in detail. So it takes the ARV and then it subtracts your costs to buy it, your costs to carry it, your costs to fix it, your costs to sell it, etc. And that gives you an exact figure which you want to get once you go under contract. You can use the 70% formula for just making an offer, but once you get it under contract and want to do your due diligence, you want to get it really, really specific, down to the dime, and that spreadsheet will help you do that. Hey, the price or investment in the premium membership just for that one form is worth it. So you want to check out premium membership, you want to click on the link below and get more information about that particular tool and many other that are available to you. Okay, so let's talk about fixing up the property. Now, there's a lot of subtopics there, not the least of which is, first we have to figure out what should we fix and what shouldn't we, how much we should spend for those items, what they generally cost, materials and labor, and who are we going to hire to do it. Now, let's just get this right out of the way. Don't do the work. It's a mistake. If you happen to be licensed in a particular trade that you can do yourself, a small part of it like electric or plumbing, that's fine. But you should figure in these calculations the cost of hiring other people to do this. If you don't, you're going to spend every weekend, every minute of spare time fixing up this house. You'll have overruns, you'll have mistakes. What if you get sick? What if you get injured? Big mistake. Always figure on hiring help to do it. And if you want to do a little of the work yourself just to get your hands dirty, hey, that's just fine. First of all, we want to hire a licensed contractor. Now, in the premium member section, we've got a independent contractor agreement, which is a killer, a killer. No contractor is going to screw you with that agreement. Again, that agreement is worth the admission price to premium membership. You're going to want to check that out. But make sure your contractor is not only licensed generally, but licensed in the trades that he's going to do, unless he's hiring subcontractors, and they should be licensed. And you want to make sure that you have a good agreement in writing that spells everything out, and be detailed. Don't just get a bid for a new kitchen. You want to go, how many cabinets, what make, what model, what kind of construction that they're made out of, and be very, very specific. That way you can shop one contractor off of another. So if you just say new cabinets, you're going to get the cheapest. You're going to get oak, and that's not usually what you want. So in terms of what to fix up, let's go back to our earlier discussion. We talked about going and looking at your competition, going to open houses. That will tell you what you have to do as a finished product. So what you're going to do use that as a benchmark. New kitchen, new cabinets, new appliances, new bathroom, upgraded bathroom or updated kitchen, carpet paint, new doors, fixtures, etc., etc., etc. And you're going to have to figure out what's it going to take to get it in the same or better condition. Now, keep in mind, you could fix it up a little bit and then just blow it out at a low price. You can fix it up nicer than everyone else. It'll sell like that. But the problem is the price that you need to get for that property is maybe so high that it won't appraise. So be aware of what the high end of that neighborhood is and whether you can push those limits. Someone might fall in love with your property, but then it won't appraise, and then the deal is blown, and then you're stuck with an over budget. I think what you should do is rate each of your competitors on a scale of 1 to 5. 5 being the highest. Highest what? The highest value for the money. So it's not the cheapest, it's not the nicest, it's the best value for the money. Rate your competition. Make sure yours, when you're done and you're priced it according to what it looks like, is a 4 or a 5. That way you can move it quickly, it'll appraise, and you can make yourself a good, quick profit. Trust me when I tell you this. A lot of people go for the nicest house and try to outbeat their competition with the nicest house and the highest price. Sometimes that works, but it doesn't always work. Don't be the cheapest either. That may not work. It may not sell because it's not good enough. Be the best value for the money. Okay. Now, when you put the property on the market and you're going to use a licensed real estate broker or agent, you can negotiate their fee a little bit, but generally they're going to range between 4 to 6% of the purchase price. And if they find you a buyer, it's worth every single dime. But make sure if you're paying full commission, you're getting all the services, meaning if they're going to charge you a full 6%, you get a beautiful flyer, you get some open houses, you get some signs, you get some marketing, you get the full schlemiel, okay? Now, the buyers are going to look at your house and then probably make you an offer. Once it's under contract, they have a right of inspection. That is to go through, they have maybe a week or 10 days to go through your house with a fine-tooth comb and see if they can find anything wrong with that. Now, no matter how nice you make your house, they're going to find things wrong. And they're going to ask you to either fix it or more likely to drop the price. That's called a concession. Now, in your calculations, that 70% and all that, you should figure on that. If you don't, that could be $3,000 to $4,000 less profit that you didn't expect. So figure on that. Also, if you're dealing in middle to lower income properties, your buyer probably is going to go with a type of loan called FHA. That's the Federal Housing Administration, which is governed by HUD. An FHA loan allows the seller to pay all or part of the buyer's closing costs, and it is customary for a buyer who's going FHA to ask the seller to pick up some of that. So you should expect to pay around 2 to 3% of the sales price in addition to the concessions. So between concessions and paying some of the buyer's closing costs, it could be 5%. And if your profit margin is 12, oh boy, that's a lot. Don't underestimate these things. A lot of people forget about this stuff, and they learn it the hard way when they only make $3,000 on their first painstaking fix and flip deal.